3-year-old boy crawled into a lawnmower bag and stayed there, alone, for 48 hours, in the Cabinet Mountains of Montana, where grizzly bears and mountain lions move through the undergrowth like shadows with teeth. When they found him on Sunday, June 5th, 2022, the sheriff carried him out of that shed and looked into his eyes. And what he saw there wasn't a tired child. It wasn't relief. It was something that combat veterans recognize immediately. Something that doctors have a clinical name for, but that most of us only ever see in the faces of soldiers who have come back from places they can never fully leave. The 1,000-yard stare. That hollow, glassy gaze that looks through everything and sees nothing. Or perhaps sees something that the rest of us cannot. Ryker Webb was 3 years old. He loved bugs. He loved chasing butterflies in the yard. And somewhere in those 2.4 miles of Montana wilderness, through thunderstorms, near freezing temperatures, and territory patrolled by apex predators, something happened to him. Something that left a mark on his face that no 3-year-old should carry. We know what the search found. We know the official version. But there is one detail buried in the sheriff's own statements. One specific thing the search teams discovered along the trail that nobody has ever fully explained. And that detail changes everything about what we think we know about this case. Troy, Montana. Population 938. A small, close-knit logging town tucked into the extreme northwest corner of the state, pressed up against the Idaho border like it's trying to disappear into it. In June, Troy is impossibly beautiful. The Cabinet Mountains rise from the valley floor in jagged snow-capped ridgelines, their slopes carpeted in Douglas fir and western larch so dense that the canopy closes above the trails like a cathedral ceiling. The Bull Lake Valley shimmers in the summer light. The air smells of pine resin and cold river water. It is the kind of place that makes you believe the world is fundamentally good. It is also one of the most dangerous wildlife corridors in the continental United States. Grizzly bears, mountain lions, black bears, wolves. This is not the sanitized wilderness of national park brochures. This is raw, indifferent country that has been killing things for 10,000 years and will continue long after the last human footprint has washed away. Ryker Webb was born in 2018. Red hair, blue eyes. The kind of kid who could spend an entire afternoon on his hands and knees in the dirt, lifting rocks to see what lived underneath. Beetles, centipedes, earthworms. To Riker, each one was a discovery, a small miracle worth examining. His family lived on a rural property near mile marker 18 of State Highway 56 on the east side of Bull Lake. It was the kind of home where a kid could run outside and play, where the yard bled naturally into the forest, where the line between safe and wild was measured in steps, not miles. On the afternoon of Friday, June 3rd, 2022, Riker was doing what he always did. He was outside, playing with the family dog. The sky over the Cabinet Mountains was still clear, though a weather system was building to the west, the kind of slow, patient Montana storm that doesn't announce itself until it's already on top of you. His father stepped inside for a few minutes. Just a few minutes. The kind of brief, ordinary absence that happens in every family, in every backyard, in every small town in America, 10,000 times a day without consequence. When he came back out, the dog was alone. The yard was empty. The yard was always empty after that. The family searched for 2 hours before calling anyone. 2 hours. In bear country, with a storm coming. Lincoln County Sheriff Darren Short would later say, with deliberate measured words, that he wanted to understand that 2-hour gap. We're still looking into why he disappeared and why he wasn't being watched closely, he told reporters. It was the kind of statement that asks more questions than it answers. But those questions belong to a different story. This story begins at 4:53 in the afternoon, when a concerned neighbor, not the family, called the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office to report a missing child. Deputies were on scene within the hour. Dog teams deployed. ATVs fanned out through the brush. A boat unit swept Bull Lake. 2 Bear Air, the search and rescue helicopter service out of Kalispell, attempted to launch. They had to turn back. The weather that had been building to the west had arrived. By Friday evening, the Cabinet Mountains were wrapped in a thunderstorm. Rain sheeted down through the fir trees and curtains. Temperature dropped into the low 40s Fahrenheit. Somewhere out in that darkness, dressed in a light blue onesie, the thin, short-sleeved kind made for summer indoor wear, not for wilderness survival, a 3-year-old boy was alone. No jacket, no boots, no one within earshot. The forest had swallowed him whole, and the forest wasn't giving anything back. Not yet. Saturday, June 4th. Dawn came gray and wet over Bull Lake. 2 Montana Air National Guard helicopters lifted off and joined the search. Drones from Flathead County, drones from Spokane Police, additional dog teams from North Valley Search and Rescue, ground crews from multiple counties. 53 people in total would participate in the search for Ryker Webb over those 2 days. 53 sets of eyes. Multiple K9 units trained to locate a human scent under 2 feet of snow. Infrared drones capable of detecting body heat from 200 feet in the air. And the forest gave them nothing. The search commander later described the conditions as very poor weather, rain, low visibility, low ceiling. The helicopters were flying half-blind through a landscape designed to hide things. But here is what those weather reports don't tell you. The Cabinet Mountains in that area don't just challenge search operations. They swallow them. The terrain between Bull Lake and the South Fork Bull River Road is a compressed maze of ridgelines, drainage channels, and river bottoms where sound travels wrong. Where a child screaming at the top of his lungs might not be heard by a searcher 30 meters away. Where a drone's thermal sensor sweeps a grid and reads the heat signatures of deer, elk, and bear, making it nearly impossible to isolate one small human form from the ambient noise of a living forest. This wasn't just a search. It was a battle against geography itself. And the geography was winning. This is where the sheriff made a statement that no one has properly analyzed. A statement about what the search teams found on the trail. Small rocks, turned over, one after another, along the path, leading away from the family property and into the tree line. Sheriff Short would explain it simply. Riker loved insects. He was flipping rocks as he walked, looking for beetles, looking for the small, crawling things that had always delighted him. He wasn't running. He wasn't frightened. He was exploring, calmly, methodically, one rock at a time, moving deeper into the wilderness of the Cabinet Mountains with the complete and terrifying confidence of a child who does not yet understand what wilderness means. But those turned rocks also told the searchers something else, something that nobody said out loud, but that every experienced tracker in that forest already understood. The trail of rocks went in one direction, and then it stopped, cleanly, as if Riker had simply ceased to exist at a specific point on the trail. No tracks in the soft earth beyond, no clothing fibers, no indication of which direction he had continued. Just the last turned rock, and then nothing. The dog teams worked that section of trail for hours. And this is where the case begins to fracture along a line that nobody can fully explain. The dogs that had been following Riker's scent, dogs with hundreds of confirmed finds between them, dogs trained to track through rain and across water, became inconsistent. Not entirely, not dramatically, but enough that the search coordinator had to pause and reorient. The scent trail that had been coherent along the rock-flipping path simply became difficult to follow beyond that point, as if the air itself had been wiped clean, as if Riker had stopped walking on the ground. 48 hours. That is how long this continued. 48 hours of searching 2.4 square miles of terrain in a grid pattern, with thermal drones, with trained dogs, with experienced ground teams. And nobody found him. Nobody came close. Sunday, June 5th, early afternoon. A couple arrived at their remote cabin near Pine Ridge Road and South Fork Bull River Road in Sanders County, roughly 2.4 miles from the Webb family home. They were there to check on the property. Routine, nothing unusual. And then, from behind the small outbuilding at the back of the property, they heard something. A whimper. Small. Human. They found him in the shed, curled inside a lawnmower bag. The light blue onesie caked in dirt, his red hair plastered against his face. Alive. When Sheriff Short arrived and entered that shed, he stopped. Because what he saw on that child's face was not what you expect to see on a rescued 3-year-old. You expect tears. You expect reaching out for arms to hold him. You expect the relief of a child who knows the nightmare is over. Instead, Short later told ABC News, "He was absolutely shocked and scared when I first made contact with him. Not the scared of a child frightened by the dark. Something deeper than that. Something that had settled into the architecture of his expression like concrete, hardening in place. The photo taken in that ambulance, Riker's eyes staring directly into the camera without truly focusing on anything. That photo would be seen by millions of people in the days that followed. And every single person who looked at it recognized the same thing. That gaze belonged to someone who had experienced something that their mind had not yet decided how to process. The 1,000-yard stare is a clinical phenomenon. It was first documented in soldiers returning from the Western Front in 1918. It is the neurological signature of a mind that has absorbed more than it can immediately integrate, a protective dissociation, a temporary retreat from full presence. Combat veterans carry it. Survivors of extreme trauma carry it. 3-year-olds who love bugs and chase butterflies do not carry it. Until they do. And the question that nobody has been able to answer is this. What did Ryker Webb see in those 48 hours that was sufficient to produce that expression on a face that had only existed for 3 years? There are things we can calculate, things the numbers make clear. Riker was wearing a thin, sleeveless onesie. Temperatures dropped to 40 degrees Fahrenheit, 4 degrees Celsius, on Saturday night. At those temperatures, a child his size, with his body mass, would be approaching the early stages of hypothermia within 2 to 4 hours of continuous exposure without shelter. Hypothermia in a toddler is not a slow, peaceful process. It begins with violent shivering, escalates through confusion and behavioral changes, and in its advanced stages produces a phenomenon called paradoxical undressing, where the victim begins removing their own clothing because the cold registers as heat. Riker was still dressed when they found him, which means he found shelter before the cold broke him. But the numbers also create a problem. A 3-year-old child walking at typical toddler pace on flat ground covers approximately 1.5 miles per hour. In dense forest, on unmaintained terrain, through undergrowth that reaches a toddler's chest, that speed drops significantly. The shed where Riker was found was 2.4 miles from his home. That distance spans 2 county lines, Lincoln and Sanders, and crosses territory that adult hikers in that area describe as moderate to difficult. The math doesn't break anything. A determined child with a head start could cover that ground. Slowly, without stopping, in the right direction. But here's what the math cannot explain. The 53 searchers who covered that same terrain with dogs, drones, and ATVs for 48 hours did not find a single indication of his presence between the last turned rock and the shed. Not one. In 2.4 miles of soft, rain-saturated forest floor that should have recorded every footfall. The earth should have told them exactly where he went. The earth said nothing. The official explanation is straightforward. Riker was distracted by insects, wandered progressively further from home, was caught by the storm, found the shed by instinct or luck, crawled inside the lawnmower bag for warmth, and stayed there. Sheriff Short, a calm and careful man who chose his words deliberately in every interview, summarized it this way: I truly believe he took cover in that shed from Friday evening until he was found on Sunday. Which means Riker may have been in that shed for nearly the entire 48 hours. Which means the search teams swept within proximity of that property at some point during those 2 days and heard nothing, found nothing. This is not impossible. Exhausted, frightened children hide. They go silent. They do not respond to voices calling their names. But a thermal drone does not require a child to respond. A thermal drone does not need to hear his voice. A thermal drone reads heat, and a 3-year-old child curled in a bag in a shed produces a heat signature that should be visible from 200 feet in the air. The drones flew. The drones found nothing. The official explanation does not address this. It simply moves past it. When Riker was old enough to speak more clearly about what he experienced, a video circulated online of him talking to his younger sibling. His account was simple. He said he saw a house in the woods. He said there was someone in the house. There are rational interpretations of that statement. A toddler's grasp of time, distance, and location is fundamentally unreliable. A house in the woods could easily be the shed itself, described through the vocabulary of a child who doesn't know the word for shed. Someone in the house could be the couple who found him, compressed in memory with the place of rescue. Children reconstruct experience, not recorded. That is the rational interpretation. And it may be entirely correct. But there is another reading, a harder one to dismiss once you sit with it for a moment. If Riker found the shed on Friday evening, and the sheriff believes he did, then who was in the house? The couple didn't arrive until Sunday. The cabin had been empty. The shed had been locked, and yet Riker was inside. and Riker says there was someone with him. The Cabinet Mountains do not explain themselves. They are old in the way that only rock is old, indifferent, unchanging, patient beyond any human timescale. The firs that line those ridgelines were alive before the town of Troy existed. They will be alive long after it is gone. And whatever happened beneath their canopy on the night of June 3rd, 2022, whatever a red-haired 3-year-old with blue eyes and dirt-caked clothes encountered in that wet, freezing darkness, it is recorded nowhere. In no report, in no file, in no database. It is recorded only in the face of a child who should not know what the 1,000-yard stare means, but who carries it nonetheless. Ryker Webb came home. He was discharged from Cabinet Peaks Medical Center and returned to his family. He grew up. He kept playing with bugs. His eyes, eventually, lit up when his parents walked into the room, and the sheriff who carried him out of that shed told the press that the child came back to himself once he was reunited with his family. The case, officially, remains open. Not because the outcome is in doubt. Riker is alive and home. But because Sheriff Short himself said it plainly, they still want to understand how he disappeared. They still want to understand why nobody called sooner. They still want to understand the gap. Every summer, Highway 56 carries travelers along the eastern shore of Bull Lake. Families stop to photograph the mountains. Hikers park at trailheads and set off into the fir forests, following trails that wind toward ridgelines and viewpoints. None of them pass mile marker 18 with any particular awareness of what happened there. It is just a number on a green sign, a reference point. But somewhere between that sign and a shed 2.4 miles away, somewhere in the drainage channels and river bottoms of the Cabinet Mountains, there is a gap in the story of Ryker Webb that has never been filled. A stretch of ground that 53 people swept with dogs and drones and found empty. A space where a 3-year-old in a summer onesie passed through a wilderness designed to kill and came out the other side, changed. The mountains don't explain. The forest doesn't confess. And Riker, who is old enough now to know that something happened to him, but perhaps too young still to find the words for what that something was, carries the weight of it in a way that only he will ever fully understand. He went into the wilderness of Montana, a child chasing butterflies and lifting rocks to see what lived beneath. He came back, but the version of him that came back had seen something. And whatever that thing was, predator, stranger, darkness, or something that belongs to no category we have a name for, it left its mark. Quiet, permanent, unmistakable. Some doors, once opened, cannot be closed again. Some forests, once entered, are never entirely left. Ryker Webb faced the abyss of the Montana wilderness and paid the price of survival with something that cannot be returned to him. A nature so brutal it hollowed out the eyes of a toddler and left behind a gaze that belongs on a battlefield. And yet, somehow, he made it through. That survival stands in stark, almost impossible contrast to the next case in this series. A Japanese boy who didn't just endure the forest. A boy who seemed to have slipped through it entirely, vanishing into thin air, then reappearing days later inside a sealed military installation that no civilian should have been able to reach. No wounds, no explanation. As if the wilderness hadn't consumed him, but handed him off to something else. If you haven't seen that case yet and you want to unlock the file on the Japanese paradox, the video is appearing on your screen right now.